Greetings and welcome, or welcome back as the case may be. Today's Monday post, so again, we're going to be trying to do something at least remotely science related. In this case, we're going to be looking at a project that I was part of. In fact, I was the staff, faculty, whatever you want to call it, advisor for this when I was working at the University of West Georgia. We had our honors astronomy students come out to the telescopes at night or during the day, as you'll see, and do an imaging project where they had to pick an object in the sky and either image it. Well, they did not either. They had to image it, they had to process the images and make it nice, pretty pictures. As we'll see probably in a future post, not all of them were pretty, but most of them worked out quite well, as we're going to see today. So with that in mind, keep in mind these are undergraduate students, probably somewhere, well, I won't get into their ages, but they were undergraduate students who'd never done anything like this before. So with some guidance, they were able to do these pictures, these astronomical pictures. So with that, the first one, you've seen my pictures of the sun in hydrogen alpha. Well, this is in a different wavelength called calcium K. This is a color that calcium gives off, and it's not the exact color. The actual color of this calcium K line is slightly into the ultraviolet. So if you put your eye to an eyepiece, I'd say roughly half the people can't even see that there's something there. Of the other half, most are going to see the most purple ball they've ever seen in their lives, but not much else. There's a few of us, though, that we see about like this, except it's really purple. But the bright spots, the bright areas, are areas around sunspots. They were small sunspots, but they were sunspots. You can also, if you look real carefully, can see some texturing. That's called supergranulation. So granulation are these Texas-sized thunderstorms. Supergranulation is areas of related Texas-sized thunderstorms on the sun. And the reason it gets darker on the outside, on the edges, is because of something we call limb darkening. Basically, you're looking at an angle through the sun as you get closer to the edge, which means you're looking higher in the atmosphere, hence cooler, and your eye-brain system and even the camera system sees that as darker. And so we call it limb or edge darkening. So that's one of the student projects that got done. Then we looked at another local body through a different telescope. This one was the moon, of course. And the little squares that you might be noticing are an artifact we were reading out. The computer could read out the camera faster than the camera could actually download the data to the computer. So it produced those square artifacts. But this was done through a type of telescope called a Maksutov Cassegrain. And one student that looked through this telescope called it the moon in HD. So as you can tell, this is a gibbous phase moon, and if you notice on it, there's a little notch up at the top left, and that's because this is a mosaic. The telescope could not see the entire moon in one picture, so this student decided to go the extra mile and took pictures of various sections of the moon, then stitched them all together with the software. Except we find out when he did that we missed a little corner of the moon, a little section of it up there. So that's the moon. Then we move to some deeper sky objects, to a star-forming region. This is the Orion Nebula. Now, this is one of the few nebulae you can actually see with your naked eye. If you can see the belt star, the belt stars of the constellation Orion where you live, and you see if you look at that last star in the sword hanging from the belt, and it looks a little fuzzy, that's because it is. That's because you're seeing this nebula, not an actual star. There are stars embedded in it, but you are seeing this nebula. But this is another student imaging project where she decided she wanted to capture the Orion Nebula and did a phenomenal job, I'd think. So there we go. And then we got into some star clusters. So this is the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. I think it is Seven Sisters, maybe Six Sisters, as it's sometimes called. It's often mistaken for the Little Dipper, because with your eye, it's a little dipper shaped object, and people don't think about the fact that Polaris is the handle of the at the end of the handle of the Little Dipper, and therefore you need to be looking north to see the Little Dipper. And this group of stars is never in the north. It may be dipper shaped, but the thing to remember about the Little Dipper is the only thing little about it is that it's smaller than the Big Dipper. It actually takes up a good chunk of the northern sky. So if you're looking for something little tiny because it's the Little Dipper, you're already off to a bad start anyway. So there we go. And the last one today I wanted to show you was this one of an open star cluster we call the double cluster, because if you notice, there are two groups of real close knit stars. And these stars, they're not globular, they're not spherically shaped. So this is called an open cluster. They're usually down in the band, the central disk region of the galaxy. And our sun was probably once a part of an open cluster like these two. So that's some of the images students of mine once put together and did all the processing of. And these turned out pretty well. I'll show you some of the bad maybe next week. There were a few that did not turn out as well as we'd hoped. But with that in mind, we've definitely gone over the 5-minute limit that I usually try to make these things. So I'm going to bid you a good day. We'll see you again on Tuesday, where I finish reading or continue reading The Old Ways. And you have a great week. For now, bye.